Alright, everybody, welcome back to the Zeztz recap podcast that I've been doing. This time for episodes 40 and 41. So, yeah. So this is mainly just for 40, this part. And it's actually a pretty simple plot, so I don't think I'll have too long to recap it. Basically, we get the punishment nightmare going off from what the fuck is his name? From Zieg. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't remember his name. And doing its own thing and punishing real people in the real world, as was in the last episode. And so it targets the thief from the last episode's brother and slowly transforms him into a nightmare as well. So when he becomes a nightmare, it can disintegrate him just like his brother. So, yeah. Baku, meanwhile, goes to stop it when Fujimi and Nasuka, call him in when they know what they're going up against. And, Baku initially tries to stand up to him, and it doesn't really work. The guy shoots him right in the fucking right side of his stomach. And he goes down, and he enters the dream world again as he's, dying. Nem, thankfully, knows how to use a first aid kit, and uses it to take the bullet out, and Baku, I believe, through the power of dreams, patches himself up. So, yeah, because we don't see any, stitches or anything. So we have that. In the real world, his wound automatically heals as soon as that's done. And he goes off on the Zeroider to go fight the nightmare. But who comes in to help him but Nox? They both transform into their Kamen Rider forms. Extreme for Baku and Midnight Shadow for Nox. They engage the Punishment Nightmare in a fight, and or Pani-chan, as Z calls it. And initially it seems like Pani-chan has the upper hand, but Baku begins his rider kick by charging up his driver, and Nox uses his Midnight Shadow powers to trap the Punishment Nightmare in the Shadow Clone technique, or whatever the fuck, the hands that he controls, and he charges up his rider kick, and they both do a dual rider kick and double team Pani-chan. Yeah, think about that for a second. And yeah, so that takes care of that. However, there is the baby nightmare from early on that has the Kotsomnia capsum, and it spins it, and uses it to revive the Punishment Nightmare, unfortunately. Taking out the Punishment Nightmare does revert the guy back from being a nightmare before he can be disintegrated and everything. But the Punishment Nightmare is still there, and he goes off into the moon in the dream world. The baby nightmare eats the Kotsomnia capsum and transforms into a new, more powerful nightmare. Trying to see where it is. I'm assuming it's the Oblivion Gore Nightmare, which I believe this one's voiced by the voice actress who plays Naruto in the Japanese dubs of the Naruto series and movies and games and whatnot. Junko Takeuchi. I'm letting the wiki load. Anyways, so, and I will talk about that in a second. Oh, yep. I thought so, because I've seen clips of Naruto, the page loaded. I've seen clips of Naruto in Japanese, and I was pretty much instantly able to recognize her voice. I don't know if she voiced the Nightmare, the baby Nightmare, or whatever, or even in previous episodes, but yeah, she was announced a few months ago during the Kamen Rider presentation, or maybe it was last month. Maybe either way, probably a couple months ago from when you guys will see this video, but on YouTube. But and actually through Patreon. But basically she was announced along with several other voice actors to be voicing the last several villains, which are the different nightmares. So we have that, and yeah, so it transforms into its super form and everything, and all of the nightmares, or all four of the last final boss nightmares, all like stand next to each other in this sort of like nightmare room type shit. Looks like from Devil May Cry, and Nem gets a pain in her chest and basically like kind of keels over. She's still awake, but like she's like feeling something really bad happening. So yeah. Meanwhile, in other parts of this episode, at first we see Zero talking to the other members of Code, I think the Code higher-ups, and he is telling them about everything and whatnot. They try to challenge him over what he's doing, but he uses the boost capsum to take them all out before they can shoot him. And basically, he's leaking all of the stuff with Code to all over the world and everything, and they think that he wants to disband Code, and they are people who are kind of all up their asses about like protecting the world and everything, and who will be the protectors of the world if not for them. And yeah, that's why they want to take him out. But yeah, and I think that's maybe another. I'm trying to think. That might be another thing. No, Minami gets informed about that from Zero, and she tells Baku. So yeah. Meanwhile, Nox Otaka, he in the real world goes to meet up with the lady, and all that's left is all that's there is the I'm trying to remember the Phantom Gore Nightmare that she linked with and everything, and yeah, and she says that there's no one, or that the lady isn't there anymore, and then she says that the walls between reality and dreams are like melting. So the dream world and the real world are slowly becoming one, and she says, "Which side will you live on?" to Nox, and then she passes through the window that that separates the dream world from the real world for that room and everything. So yeah, we also get some information from Scsigs stating that the punishment nightmare has existed for millions of years in the subconscious of humans and everything. So yeah, and he's basically Nem puts it best. He's like a jilted lover. He comes off like a jilted lover, and he even like basically confirms, yeah, that's basically how he feels because what was it? I'm trying to remember. That he felt that he was a 1 in a million year meeting with Punny-chan and everything. And yeah, and that's when he tells Nem that the nightmare has been around for thousands of years and or millions of years. So yeah. So we have all that. The pieces are slowly working together. In terms of the fight between Baku and Nox versus the Punishment Nightmare, I honestly really, really like it. It doesn't have too much in the way of like actual like choreography and everything. They start off with their sword weapons, but the Punishment Nightmare gets rid of those, and they mainly fight with fisticuffs from then on in the fight. And from then on, um, they get dragged down to this like shadow realm kind of place, and um, they they do their best to avoid the punishment's attacks and other things. And then what after? Then basically Baku charges up his rider kick, and then so does Nox with the Midnight Shadow, or the shadows grabbing the nightmare, and then they defeat it and everything, and then the Shadow Realm place cracks down. I do like some of the early stuff that they try to do though, because Baku tries to take aim at the Punishment Nightmare with his like bow thing from his what is it, the lightning form, uh and he even shoots through Nox and everything, because Nox, he knows that Nox basically has like eyes in the back of his head, and he's like anticipating something. So Nox turns into a shadow and like disappears into the ground for the lightning bolt to hit the Punishment Nightmare and stun it for a second. And I think that that's actually really inventive and everything. But yeah, in terms of everything, it's another Link in the Chain episode. It's not bad, and everything, and I think some parts of it are really cool. But you can definitely tell this was just maybe written to fill a quota, because it didn't take long for me to recap everything, and because it is a simple plot and it's pretty straightforward in what happens and everything. There's not a lot to it. However, we will see more when we get to the next one. Alright, so 41, and this episode is actually pretty straightforward as well, but a lot does happen in it. So basically, the episode begins with revealing that the lady has fused with the Phantom Nightmare. We get a scene a little later on that shows a flashback to before Nox came to talk to the lady in the last episode and ended up talking to the Phantom. Basically, it's a very similar situation to Zeztz and the Punish Gore Nightmare, and to which they've just gone to calling it Punish instead of Punishment. But yeah, and basically, they're like their bodies have fused, and so kind of have their consciousnesses and everything. And basically, the ladies like want to get revenge on Code is being fused with the Phantoms want to basically kill all humanity and everything. So yeah, so they're in that Shadow Realm kind of place where all of four of the nightmares are together, and the Catastrophe Gore Nightmare is there too. The one that gave Baku his Catastrom capsum and everything. And in the premonition dream and everything. Which leads me to ask, like, if Baku didn't technically, I guess, fuse with that nightmare, in this reality, how does he still have the Catastrom capsum? But I don't know. But anyways, so he says he's gonna go out to pretty much cause havoc and everything, and he does. He starts destroying all of the code bases around the world. First, the one in North America, which it looks like, considering the aerial shots and everything, it looks like it's in New York City. I'm not sure what building that is that it's in, but it looks like it's in New York City. So they hire a bunch of like extras that aren't Asian for this as well, for like the different like code locations. They hire like white actors, some Indian actors to portray code India and whatnot. But slowly, as well as code UK. And we slowly see the North American branch, the UK branch, the India branch, the Southeast Asian branch, and then eventually the Japanese branch be taken down of code. We don't see any more than that. Not to say that catastrophe didn't like take it down, but you know, it's kind of assumed, though we may see something different happen in a future episode that confirms maybe not all of code was destroyed, but the more important branches were. It wouldn't surprise me either way. So, and maybe we won't get a confirmation or whatever. But yeah. So yeah, slowly throughout this episode we see that Zero is informing every other branch of code, and then eventually I think every world government as well, that the nightmares are starting to come into the real world and destroy code headquarters and everything. And basically they have confirmation that the nightmares apparently took down the dinosaurs, which I think I covered in the last podcast episode, when they talked about that for a second. And so humanity's coming to a similar end if the nightmares get their way, is basically his warning to everyone. So yeah, and he sends out all of the like files and data and everything that he needs to everybody. And he also sends one to Fujimi and Nazca, and they print out everything so they have it physically. Nazca finds out through this that Kureha died in the dream and everything, which I'm not gonna lie, I think that maybe could have been saved for a future episode for her to find out, and then we get a little scene of her starting to mourn Kureha's death. Because I'm not gonna lie, like, the series doesn't seem to want to slow down and focus on this specific human element, and it's a bit disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. So anyways, I'm trying to think. Baku heads to code headquarters. Fujimi heads to code headquarters as well while this shit is going on. And Fujimi actually calls Baku to tell him about that shit. To which Minami didn't even get a call about it, so that's how you know it's really dire and everything, because Zero would have called her if he was able. So they all head to code headquarters. We see Baku stop outside of the code headquarters gate, and he on Zeroider, and he calls up Zero and tells him he'll help him out with everything. And then he heads in. After an explosion happens, and Zero unfortunately is not answering anymore. So yeah. So then we see Fujimi and Nox, because Nem gets transported to the like flower garden in the dreamscape outside of the ladies' headquarters. She sees that all the flowers are white, which I thought they were previously, but I guess not. Maybe they were like a purplish or pinkish tone. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But basically, she goes up to the window. She's wondering what's going on. Nox comes up to her and is just like, "That's what I was wondering." And finds out that the Punish Night, or no, not the Phantom, has fused with the lady, because the lady is on the other side of the glass and everything. And then I think like transforms into the Phantom Nightmare, or shifts into it, and that's how Nox finds out. And the Phantom, or no, the lady tells Nox, or I think, actually no, I don't think she shifts, or maybe she shifts from the Phantom to the lady, but I can't remember. Or maybe it's just something that she says that tips him off. So then she says to Nox, if you want to accomplish your dream, now's the time to do it. And he says, I will take down Code myself. And so, yeah, so he goes off and everything. And so he gets to Code headquarters, and so does Fujimi. They're both inside of the same point, and Fujimi tries to talk to him about what's going on and everything, and then they have a little fight, but then, because Nox knows how to fight better, he knocks Fujimi out, and I think tells him to stay out of his way. And then, as Zero is trying to escape with a guard helping him, or not a guard, one of the soldiers trying to help him get out of the building, there's crumbling, there's part of the crumbling infrastructure of the building that comes down on them, and the officer, like, pushes him out of the way of it, and I think gets crushed by it. It's either gets crushed by it or stays on the other side of it, maybe. It's one of the two. I think he gets crushed by it. Nox shows up dressed as one of the officers, one of the SWAT team, I guess, and takes off his helmet and the like, I don't know, the like cloth that's over his head and face, and yeah, but then Baku or Zero accepts that if Nox wants to kill him, that's fine, just let him survive for now. And then Baku comes in to defend Zero from Nox. And there's a bit of a misunderstanding. I'll explain why in a second. And then they transform into their Kamen Rider forms, their final forms, and start fighting. Baku and Nox are basically at a stalemate there, but Baku then transforms into Catastrom form for some reason. I don't know why, but okay. Considering it seems like Extreme is supposed to be more powerful than Catastrom, but okay. And they fight for a little bit more until it gets to the point where Nox tells him when they're talking a little bit that he misunderstands what Nox is trying to do, and that he doesn't care about the people that work for Code. He just wants to destroy Code's technology that allowed them to try to control dreams and stop bad dreams and everything, or control bad dreams. And Baku's just like, huh? And then he, like, not kills over, but, like, takes some pain from the punish, or the Catastrom caps him, imploding in on itself again. And, but it's not as bad as it was last time, thankfully. And so, he's just like, really? And, yeah. So then when Zero's away, and, gets knocked out, I think by more of the crumbling infrastructure of the building, the Catastrophe Nightmare, goes into his dream and kills him, saying that, something about, nightmares crushing people's dreams. And Zero has a hell of a line to go out on. He says, I believe in my dream. Literally in that kind of a fucking cadence. I'll give it to the actor. He hammed it up pretty well. I don't know if he gave the right inflection on, like, I believe in my dream. Like, I don't know. I think he should have said it less hammy, but I get what they were going for. So yeah, Baku takes off to go save Zero. Nox takes off to go to the technology, like, room of the building. And Baku is unfortunately too late to save Zero, and he's already dead. And then Nox gets to the tech room, and I think just he's gonna, like, destroy everything. And that's basically where the episode leaves off until the next time, with everybody, like, kind of at a low point. Sieg is laughing at everything because he basically anticipated that, like, all of what's going on. And yeah, so really good episode. Another Link in the Chain episode. Pretty pretty simple and everything, but it doesn't have to be that complicated and everything. There's a lot going on. I would definitely recommend watching the episode at the very least, so you can at least see what happens. I will say the fight between Baku and Nox is a little forced, considering they just fought together in the last episode and they were getting along. Like, I know that they're more or less on their own sides, and Nox is kind of an anti-villain, but the thing about it is just, like, I would think that Nox would just say to Baku, get him out of here, and then just explain that he wants to take down Code's technology and everything and destroy it. And then just leave Baku to deal with that, and maybe the catastrophe nightmare appears in real life, because it appeared in real life at the different Code locations, so it could easily do that. And then Baku has to fight it off or whatever, but then maybe Zero gets in the way and dies saying, I believe in my dream or whatever. But yeah, it also ends on Zero saying, I believe in our dream, talking about his and Baku's. So yeah, just overall pretty good episode and everything. I was also going to say for the last episode, I understand why they designed the Extreme and Midnight Shadow caps or suits like they did. They look really good next to each other. They're in different color schemes. Baku's is very colorful. Nox's is very like basic and like just black and white with some blue trim. And both work and both look really good next to each other. They don't look like each other either, which is good. They just look like their individual rider forms and colors, and I think that that is actually really, really good, the way that they design that. So, yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have much else to say on this. I recommend watching these episodes. They are really good, or at the very least this one. Last one, you can just like watch the highlights and you'd be fine. This one, I think, is really good to see, because it's the end of, well, it's a mix of an end and a beginning for this next chunk of the story into the end game. This is the end game of this, and I think it's been confirmed that it's like 50 episodes, and the movie is where this series is going to be in terms of how long it is. Sorry about that. For some reason, Siri came on in my for my laptop. But anyways, so this episode, so these two episodes were pretty good. Kind of an end, or kind of very much the beginning of this next story arc into the end game. We will see what happens in the future, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, guys, for the YouTube upload, links in the description, all my shit. Subscribe if you want. I'll see you guys in the next one.